Hi everybody, this is Roller. Right now I'm going to be talking about the card game that I'm going to be putting on the channel. It's basically a card game called Cardfight Vanguard. What's about it? If somebody's ever seen anime about like Yu-Gi-Oh or stuff like that, that's what this is about. But this is a card game that's way more better than Yu-Gi-Oh in some points. It's more expensive, like I have to say it's more expensive, but in my opinion it's a little bit more balanced in some cases. But I'm gonna show you today, I'm gonna be talking about the clans, what they do, their nations, and I'm gonna teach a little bit of how the game works. That's what I'm gonna be doing for now, because the thing is I'm gonna be adding I'm basically gonna be doing videos once I have a PC. I'm gonna be doing videos on Cardfight area, which is basically a card game simulator free online for Cardfight Vanguard. Okay, so how the game works is basically you're gonna be having a few zones for what you're seeing in the picture. You're gonna be having a deck zone for your deck, a drop zone for any card that's basically already used and or it's died. And your G zone is basically like your health bar. The G zone is basically your special zone where you're gonna be basically you're gonna be calling super units. Your Guardian Circle is where you're gonna be defending with the cards in your hand or your field, and even from your G zone. The Vanguard Circle, it's basically where you're going to be having your primary unit, basically your super important card, which is immortal in the game. The Rear Guard Circle are going to be the yellow circles you're seeing around that Vanguard Circle. They're basically going to be your troops into battle, where they're going to be basically fighting together. The ones in the back row, they give their power to the front row units, and the only ones who can attack are the front rows. Sometimes that rule can be broken with some abilities. They basically counter that rule. But the Vanguard has an ability that's unique to the rear guard in general, which is whenever it attacks, you basically check a trigger from the top of your deck, which is basically you have the trigger zone right up there. And what it does is basically, depending on the trigger, you're basically gonna be activating an ability. For example, if you get a trigger with a yellow marking, that's critical. So you deal 2 damage, which is basically gonna be added to your health bar, because your health bar is basically the more damage you take, the more closer you are to losing. If you take 6 damage, you lose automatically. If you get a heal trigger, which is basically another trigger, so it's going to be green, you can heal the damage even if you reach 6. You can heal 1 damage at least. If you get a red one, that's a draw trigger, so you can draw a card. And if you get a stand, you can stand the unit. But the stand triggers are going to be taken out of the game, so they're going to be replaced by front triggers. And what front triggers do is they give 10,000 power to the entire front row. Like basically when the time comes up, you guys are gonna be understanding what I'm talking about. But for now, this is basically the rules that I'm explaining, so you guys don't have you guys can at least be able to know what I'm doing when I'm playing the game itself online, doing videos about it, because it's basically gonna be very, very important for you guys to know this. So let's go into the clans and nations. Okay, so basically, this is the nations. These are all 6 nations. The yellow one you're seeing, that's Sanctuary, United Sanctuary. The one in red, that's Dragon Empire. The one that is in purple, that is Dark Zone. The blue one, that's Mechanica, I think it's pronounced. Green is Zoo, and the white one, it's Stargate. These nations are Like you can see, some of them are very big. Extremely, Dragon Empire is the biggest of them all on territory, but it's not the nation that has the most clans. It's basically the one in second place. United Sanctuary, even if it's smaller, it has more clans, and it basically has part of the most famous clans too. Although Dragon Empire does have some famous clans. Dark Zone basically is the third place nation on more clans. It has 4 clans. Dragon Empire has 5, and United Sanctuary has 6. The other 2 nations have 3 clans each, but they're not weak. They have very powerful clans. Some of them don't. But in my opinion, basically the nations with the strongest clans right now, in my opinion, are Dragon Empire, Dark Zone, United Sanctuary, and Stargate. Now let's get on to the nation's own clans, starting up with the first one. Okay, so up first, United Sanctuary. Okay, so the clans that you're seeing right now are Royal Paladin, Shadow Paladin, Gold Paladin, Oracle Think Tank, and Genesis and Angel Feather. The first one that we're going to talk about is Royal Paladin, which is one of the most famous clans. And even though it's not that expensive as many other clans like Shadow Paladin, it is very expensive and its own. So, the clans, what I'm going to be talking about right now is the specialty of the clans. So, Royal Paladin is basically all about rear guards. If you have a special amount of rear guards, you can get certain abilities, because they count on having their rear guard full to activate their abilities. And their specialty on Superior Calling is grade 2 or above. Next one, Shadow Paladin. That is basically my favorite clan out of all Sanctuary. It's basically the one that I most of the time play. It's basically the ability of the Shadow Paladins is they do the same thing as Royal Paladins, but a little bit different. Instead of trying to get units to get abilities, they get units to sacrifice to get abilities, and they superior call grade 1s instead of grade 2s. And basically what they do is when they have a certain amount of rear guards, they just kill them off. That's what they do. That's their specialty. And then they could get special abilities from that. Next one, Gold Paladins. What they do is that they just superior call from the top of the deck, and that's their specialty. Superior calling for the top of the deck to activate certain abilities every time they do that. Next one, Oracle Think Tank. This clan is basically, it has the specialty of increasing the cards in your hand. Basically, a lot of drawing power and a lot of basically knowing the top card of the deck. Genesis. The ability of Genesis is basically soul charging a lot of cards. Like soul charge, you put a lot of cards. You put a card inside of your Vanguard, below the card of your Vanguard, and that's soul charge. But they take it to the extreme, and they do it so they can soul blast a lot of the cards. And when they do that, they basically activate it so they can activate a super ability. Most of the time they soul blast like 6 or more cards. Angel Feathers. What they do is, whenever they are in the field, they play with the damage zone. For example, if you have a card that you want to catch from the damage zone, normally you wouldn't be able to take a card from the damage zone. They can do that. Also, they can heal the damage zone for free most of the time. They can do that. However, that clan's the only exception on the damage zone, because it's the only one that uses the damage zone in that particular way. Okay, so now it's the turn for Dragon Empire. Okay, so Dragon Empire. The first clan that we're going to be talking about is Kagero. like you can see over there. So the specialty of the clan is they heavily concentrate on destroying rear guards by column. Not normally like other clans. Some clans can do that, but it's not their specialty. They do it as a column extermination. The other clan, known as Murakumo, the ability of Murakumo, their specialty is they can basically create copies of the Vanguard in the rear guard, so they can keep attacking and calling out units without using their hand. The next one, Kachikasi, and it's basically similar to Shadow Paladins, but they do it only by powering up the Vanguard. Not like Shadow Paladins where they do it to get crits or stuff like that, no. They do it just to power up the Vanguard, most of the time. Next clan is Nubatama. Their specialty is on depleting your hand by binding it and forcing you to discard a hand, depending on how many cards you have in your hand. For example, if you have more cards than your opponent, like if the Nubatama player has less cards than you, he's gonna keep depleting your hand until you have nothing to guard, or very low cards to guard. Next one is basically similar to Kakero, and it's what was the name? I remember Narukami. The specialty of the clan is on killing your rear guards, but in two ways. Destroying them, not like Kagero by exterminating columns. They do it normally by just killing anything that they can find, or by attacking with the Vanguard as many rear guards plus the Vanguard as possible. For example, they have one Vanguard that can attack basically the entire front row, 2 rear guards and 1 Vanguard. Or they have another card which is basically it attacks the Vanguard plus 4 rear guards, and then that card has an evolution where it can attack the entire field. So, destruction. So on to the next clan. Okay, next nation and clans, Dark Zone. Okay, so the third most biggest in clans. The first clan, Dark Irregulars. What the clan uses is basically a similar strategy to the Genesis clan, but instead of soul blasting it, they keep it in the soul to get strength depending on the numbers you have on the soul. So the more cards you have in the soul, the worse you're gonna have against somebody who's playing that clan. Okay, next clan is the Gear Chronicle. Their specialty is on controlling space and time, and the way that works is they basically send cards to the bottom of the deck, or either superior call cards and sending other cards to the bind zone, and then returning it, and then calling that card back to the bind zone. That is how they control the rules for the deck. Next one, the Pale Moon. They specialize in the soul too, but they, instead of soul blasting or keeping it, they use it to superior call from the soul, so they can keep attacking. That's what they do. And the Spike Brothers, what they do is they keep superior calling on the battle phase to keep attacking, and they superior call from the deck or the hand. And they don't just attack, they just get more power when they attack as well. So they're very, very dangerous. Okay, so next nation is gonna be Zoo. That's gonna be the next nation. Okay, so the clans that you're seeing right now, I wanted to get a better picture, but I couldn't get a better picture, so that's gonna be the picture that I'm gonna be having to use with you guys. So The first one is the bear one. That's gonna be Great Nature. What the clan specify, the special ability of the clan is, the more power you have on your rear guard, the special abilities of the clan activate. That's how they are. The more powerful the rear guard is, the better for their deck. Next one, it's the Mega Colony. It's the one in the middle. That is basically the insect race they have to add to the game. So the specialty is they can stop your opponent's rear guard from standing. So they're basically paralyzing the rear guard of the enemy. So when they start their turn, they're still in rest mode, so they can't attack. Next one is gonna be the Neo Nectar. The ability for Neo Nectar is they can superior call copies of the rear guard, like similar to the Murakumo, but for the rear guard, especially for the rear guard. That's what they do. Okay, so next nation is Megacolonica. These are the clans for the nation. The first one is Bermuda Triangle. They specialize on sending the rear guard to the hand to activate their abilities. And that's basically once they do that, they can either gain power or they can get more cards from the deck to the hand, even criticals. Next one, Aqua Force, and I really like this clan, Aqua Force. It's basically, the ability is when they attack, depending on the numbers of the attacks, they can either withstand and get more attacks, or they can get criticals and those type of situations for their abilities. The third clan is the Grand Blue. They're basically the zombies of the game. Their specialty is to revive their dead allies. For example, superior calling from the drop zone. That's what they do. They revive their troops from the dead. Okay, so the final nation is Stargate. And these are the three clans for the nation, and I have to say the support they've been getting has been so annoying. But let's not ramble about that. But let's start off with the first one, Dimension Police. They're basically the ability is the more power the Vanguard has, that's when they activate the ability. It's like the rear guard powers up the Vanguard, so the Vanguard can activate its abilities. For example, they can either stand or get crits. Most of the time they're gonna get like multiple crits, depending on the situation, but that's what they do. Next one, Link Joker, and I really like this clan, even though it is very annoying. I really do like it. The ability of them is basically locking a rear guard and multiple rear guards from the enemy player. So that way they cannot use those rear guards for defending or guarding. They're basically useless cards in the field, and that's what they do. They also have another mechanic, but that mechanic is basically a sub-clan of the clan. They're basically, the mechanic is they can delete the Vanguard and make the Vanguard have 0 power and be harder to defend with the Vanguard that has 0 power. That's basically the other mechanic they have. And they also have a third one, which is basically a part of the Deleters sub-clan from the Link Joker, which is Vanish Delete. The thing is, they can keep binding your hand or your drop zone, so you have less guard and less opportunities to defend. That is basically what they do in that part for the sub-clan of Link Joker. The third clan and final clan that we're going to be discussing today is the Nova Grapplers. The specialty of the Nova Grapplers is to keep basically restanding units. For example, they keep restanding the rear guard, so you can keep attacking. Or they sometimes can restand the Vanguard to attack again. And they do have a card that can make the Vanguard attack 3 times in one turn, which is basically very strong, but they can do it. Okay, so that should be a short entrance tutorial into the game. So you guys can tell me if you you can comment below if you liked it or not. Tell me what I did wrong, and if you liked it, put a thumbs up, like it will be good for the channel. And in the future, I'm gonna basically try and do deck profiles using this format that you just saw that I used, so I can make deck profiles without like having to use the deck itself, because I'm basically gonna be playing on PC, and I'm gonna be testing the decks and make it easier for me to make the tutorial use this format, because the game, like I said, is expensive right now, and it's not easy to get into it. So I would suggest that if somebody wants to be a new player, if anybody sees this video and they're a new player, they're trying to know what Vanguard is, I would suggest just waiting for the new series to come out and then get into the game, because the new series are going to be bringing in a trial deck that's basically a good deck. Like, it comes already ready for battle, and it has every copy that you need for the deck until then the booster comes out. So that'll be all for today, and see you guys. Bye. We're in control.